Hello again, everybody. This is Coach Anthony Pratley. I want to go through another video with you in our pistol spread option series. Today we're going to talk about more shifts, formations, and motions. If you haven't seen the other videos that we've already put out, make sure to review those. A lot of these will be explained in those videos. But for today, we're going to get into the formation shifts and motions, and we're going to look at the spread formation. Again, we will get into some of these shifts and motions as we go through spread, but I wanted to go through our basic spread formation. Before I do that, I want to explain the base formation one more time very quickly. Our base formation, as we talk about, is a 2x2 formation, two receivers to the left, two receivers to the right. Our X and our Y are always on the line of scrimmage, and our F and Z are always off the line of scrimmage. So that's our base formation. This is what we use most of the time. Spread is a very similar formation to the base, but I wanted to make sure you saw the base before we get into spread. So what the difference is between base and spread is really small. For us, spread formation, what that does is it takes our X and Y, instead of having them in the slot, you're going to move them out to the wide receiver position. But again, our X and Y are still on the line of scrimmage. So nothing has changed in that. You'll see the Y is on the line of scrimmage. The X is on the line of scrimmage. Our F and our Z become our slot players in this case, and they will always be off the ball. So this is our basic spread formation. Now, what we can do with that are a lot of these shifts and motions and formation spots, as we've gone through in previous videos. So what we will do is we'll talk a little bit about the spread formation and all the different ways that you can get into different looks. So for example, we'll start with the Y. When we make a spread tight call, what that means is that our Y is going to be down in the line of scrimmage, and he would become a tight end. So we still have our X out in spread, our F is still in the slot, Z is still in the slot, but our Y, instead of being lined out wide on the numbers, has now moved into the tight end call. And it gives us a little bit of a different look just by using one word, tight. The tight only talks to the Y. So in this particular case, everybody else lines up in spread, but the Y comes down into his tight position. It works the same way with our X. The word we use is down. So if I call spread down, everybody will line up in spread formation. The X will come down to be a tight end. So we can call spread down, and the X would now line up as a tight end. Is it possible to call tight down spread or spread tight down? Absolutely. The only difference is the Y would then come down into his tight position, the X would come into his down position, and you would have double tight ends. So there's a lot of ways you can play with these combinations, but the key here is the Y only has one word to remember, that's tight. The X only has one word to remember, and that's down. Let's get into the Z. Z has four: rhythm and blues, and then brown and gold. Rhythm and blues are his normal spot in the slot. R with rhythm to the right, blues with the L in it to the left. So we can't click on rhythm because in our spread formation, our Z is already in his rhythm position. That's the rhythm position on the field for him, the right slot. But I can call blues, and what blues would mean, so spread blues tells everybody else to line up in spread, and the Z would line up in the slot to the left. So now we've created a trips formation. The next part that we have to learn from our Z is a brown and gold. This gives us a 1x1, 1 foot wide and 1 foot back off the line of scrimmage from the end man on the line of scrimmage. So brown is to your right, gold is to your left. This would be a spread brown where the Z would come from the slot down to a 1x1 off the tackle. The other thing we can do is gold, which puts him in a 1x1 to the left off the tackle. Gives us a little bit different look of a spread look. I really like this when we run midline. Our Z can insert into that guard tackle gap through a quick motion or just underneath to block that linebacker. So another example of how we can use this to our advantage. The spread formation stays, but now we've put Z in that gold position, put him down in that 1x1 off the tackle. The F has a lot of information to catch, but it's really simple when you teach it the way that you teach it. Rock and roll is his slot positions. Again, I can't click on roll because he's already in that slot position. So if we talk about spread rock, that moves the F from his normal position over to a trips to the right. So this would be called spread rock. That F is the only one that moves, and he moves over to the right. Again, roll is where he always is, so we don't have to talk about that one. Red and black work the same way as brown and gold did. Red is 1 by 1 to the right off the end man on the line of scrimmage. So the F comes over and lines up 1 by 1 to the right. And then we've got black, which is to the left, 1 by 1 off the end man on the line of scrimmage to the left. So again, different formation looks using some simple words. Now we get into, we've done everything we've done with the Z, but the F can also be in the backfield. And what we like to do is put the F back as a fullback, a tight end, a lot of different ways that we can play with the F in his lineups and formations. So strong to us tells the back to go to the right side next to the quarterback behind the guard. So strong pulls our F out of the slot and puts him behind the guard directly next to the quarterback and more of an offset I formation. Weak works the same way. Weak is to the left. So if I call weak, then the F would go into his weak spot behind the guard and next to the quarterback. Again, a two-back look. He can also do hammer and nail. Hammer is what we call to the right. Nail is what we call to the left. Hammer puts him in the guard tackle gap to the right side. So you can see he's in between the guard and tackle, 1 yard off the ball. So that is our hammer position. And then we can call nail, which puts him 1 by 1 in the guard tackle gap, or 1 foot back in the guard tackle gap to the left. So again, everybody else lines up and spread, but the F here is hammer, he goes to the right. The F here is nail, he goes to the left. Last but not least, we have split, which is what we can do to put our split backs in. So our F would come back behind the guard, and our H would move over behind the guard to the right. So this is a spread split formation. Spread telling everybody else where to go, split telling the H and the F to do something a little bit different. The last person we need to talk about in this is the H. He's got a few calls. Split, which we've already reviewed. So we're going to go to empty right and empty left, and it is exactly as it sounds. This is an empty backfield. Empty backfield to the right would be spread empty right. The H now comes over to the slot to the right side. Spread empty left, he would go to the left side. And then finally we have near and far. Near is to the right, far is to your left. Near lines him up behind the guard to the right, and far would line him up behind the guard to the left. So that is our basic spread formation. As you see, there's a lot of combinations we can play with here. The basic spread formation, though, is a 2 by 2, where we always have our X and our Y on the line of scrimmage. They just go out wide and spread. The F and the Z stay in the slots off the ball. The difference between spread and base, again, going back to base, our base formation is we're going to flip those. Base puts our X and our Y in the slot and puts our F and our Z off the ball out wide. So I hope you've learned a little bit, but you can see the many combinations we can create using simple formations, base and spread, and giving you those shifts, formations, and motions. Now, before I go any further, I want to go into the shift and motion. What we did before with our spread formation is we gave a alignment call like tight, and they just lined up in that call. What I can now do is use spread shift tight, which would mean that I would shift on the snap. So if I go to that Y and I give a shift tight call, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have that Y shift down to the line of scrimmage and be that Y. So when this quarterback starts his cadence, he could say set. The Y would then shift down, get set for 1 full second, and he would be in his tight position. This case, it's a base tight, but spread tight will work exactly the same way. Last but not least, we have motions. So I'm going to use the example from a Z. So I'm going to go into my spread call. I'm already in spread. I might give a spread blues call. And in this case, I'm going to motion blues. So what that means is I don't have to get set for a full second like I do in a shift, but I'm going to motion to blues. So my Z, this is a base blues. He's going to motion across into his blues position. Would it work the same way from a spread? Absolutely. He would just be lined up in the slot and then motion over so he can continue to move on the snap. And that is the difference between our shifts and our motions. Our shifts, you have to get set for 1 full second, and our motion, you can move at the snap. I hope you've learned a little bit about the flexibility of the pistol spread option offense as we talk about the base formation and our spread formation. There are other formations that you'll get on future videos, but thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Again, hit like, hit share, share with your coaches. This is a great way to get some of our younger coaches to learn a little bit of flexibility, a little bit of difference, especially through the pistol sprint option offense. Thanks for joining.